What would one think of life if we existed in two planes? A vast universe created and pondered by creators of time, trapped in an eternal bubble that sets course to shrink within all we knew. No matter hither or yonder, we had no clue until the first dots connected in endless euphoria, thus bringing life's consequential birth to the shrine. A kingdom cased away in a void unbeknownst to us by the name of Vegala Infinity in the realm of Hitherfall. It was said to have created worlds beyond stars, life that had lived many times over, harnessing their studies inside the most powerful archive of knowledge, what we'd come to know as the Iris, knower of all pasts, presents, and futures, the ultimate vessel of all-encompassing intelligence. It would record every birth and every death of our planetary glacier, all for the protection against an imploding wonder. But its infamous testament was not without surprises. The Iris Archive held vaster powers to manipulate our drifting void. It was also what kept who and whatever possessed it out of the Yonder. That Yonder being a realm devoid of Hitherfall, known as Yondrathal. Every living life force remained here, while souls of those passing on would pass through to Hitherfall. 6 cosmic beacons were created, and their light would be what expands the bubble we know, never letting eternal damnation shrink inwards. Many millennia had been put into these dancing stars, and as stars ignited, so did their devastating collapse. Tale foretells of these systems living many a life over, all recorded through the Iris archives, each cycle becoming stronger than before. Of course, that's all anybody knew. Not a soul had considered furious eruption from beyond the bubble, until one day, thus Vegala Zero was born. It begs the question, what happens when you live life on the edge? You get havoc. An adrenaline pierces through the bubble we're all too familiar with and opens up a freight train with no direction. 2 planes hanging in balance, one that only the crazier-than-fiction can muster. On this day of havoc, we celebrate what happened when a deprived source of all knowledge is spread across the vastness we remain inside. We bear witness to an origin jumping realms in the blink of an eye when its only protection is taken from them. Hither and yonder. Be ready for wonder. Open knowledge's gate. Stand in line.
What do we know about it?
We're looking at light years before we can reach it, but it's no walk in the park.
So you're saying it's a hostile?
It's not certain. By proportion's sake, I'd say we're looking at something twice the size of our own planet.
Is there anything we know about what lays beyond?
There's nothing in our databanks. It's unknown territory. And good luck getting there. We have no way of knowing how dangerous it truly is.
Only one way to find out. We need to build on our best weapons, unprecedented transportation, supplies. I don't care how long it takes, we need to know if this thing poses a threat to our lives. This is Planet Dusk and Wire. State your business hacking into our infrastructure. Translate that signal.
You cannot win. Cease your efforts and forfeit. Our Covenant mission has already begun.
Send back a message. Listen, I don't know who you are, or how you got into our network, but if you think you're getting there first, you have another thing coming.
Stand in our way, and you will know true reigns of superiority. Stand close, and you may never stand again.
Fighting words.
Sir, do we need to maybe stand down?
Bullshit, we're standing down.
We have all due respect, but we haven't got the slightest clue what we're up against.
You think I'd give a rat's ass when our world could be doomed?
I'll get our best people on the job.
God help us. We're entering the jaws of war.
Legend. A word with promise of history written in stone. Legend foretold of a land long and far, its sanctum drizzled with magma, darkness, skies crimson red, and mountains cutting through the anxious clouds. It is here on this hellish nadir that legend was born, and would most surely be tested through the eye of the beholder. Long ago lived a symbol of beginnings and ends to our lives. The galaxy brings gifts, and these gifts are spread far and wide. There lived a treasure from unknown territory, far beyond legend. One born for archival, tainted with our very pasts, presents, and futures. An emblem only the most powerful could harness. This emblem would be known in myth as the Iris Emblem. It seeks to protect the course of nature by paving neutral peace against divergent chaos. The emblem originated from a solid foundation floating through our cosmos, a mystical paraphernalia named Ether, plummeting toward a chasm-like magma boulder. It is there that a gateway to the afterlife was created, an open breach for the deceased to roam free. There stood the first two beings to walk this abyss sent from afar. Two strays from outer worlds in pursuit of the emblem, Father Tyrant and Lady Fate. Born from unknown territories to us, it was here they had scattered the molten field in search of what they desired. Days turned to months. Minutes began to feel like a millennia. Alas, what they were destined to find was merely a morsel of what laid among the horizon. Several lost souls roamed this hellscape. Darkness engrossed the layers of rock with a sentient and darkened energy. Many of these souls lived with a thickened layer of evil attached to them, emitting vitriol resonance. But of course, many projected a more fragile presence, coupled with ones of courage. It so happens that this land has existed for centuries. Devoid of life, it became a field of hopelessness and decay, souls violently swinging for one another. It appears the core was nothing shy of harsh territory for both Tyrant and Fate, a land recalled in tales as the Depths. There, on the apex of the Depths, lived a ruler of these spirits, King Vysen Pavavori. Exterior like charcoal, interior of bloodshed, Vysen had allowed anarchy to breed through the Depths and continue the damnation for eons. He is said to have given up on peace, as it was a formidable work of fiction and fantasy, and thus order through trials of fire were put in place. Father Tyrant and Lady Fate climbed to this peak, as night turned to day, without a glimmer of what night and day meant here. Once reaching the top, the warrior from within spoke to their instinct, pushed for ingress between the gates of this fortress, and led prey to a battleground where the trial by fire commences. And so the fight begins. Foreign heroes against the Pavavori tribe. It is with great haste, suspense, sacrifice, and pride that long after the fight, Vysen had been dethroned, laying on the ground in remnants of ash. Before he could perish, fate and threatening fates were beckoned to the two heroes.
Pick the fruit from a tree and it will come down. With no plateau beholding comes the end to the crown. That's thee cast blindness to the shadows up there. Lay haste to the paradigm born from blackness glare. Not even we of coal may proclaim victory. As a deep looming manifest will create darker history. Bipolesian, Crostanoctus, Anxosax, Tormentus and Grief, their immortality would thrive, as when all would join forces, bring out the Mother Hive. Heed those words well, and pray not go unguided. Such is the Pavavori's final smile, when your world becomes sorely divided. We will never be too far, so perish, as you may have already decided.
Fog clouded the room as Tyrant emits one final cast of his staff. A wormhole is opened where the Pavavori colonials perished, sent to live in an eternity of nothingness forever. Suddenly, what was once blocked from entry, A liquid substance floods from the fortress, and what was once merely a ring-shaped crevice filled with substance in a matter of minutes, what we would come to call Omen water, a purification liquid. It is with this victory Tyrant and Fate built a brand new order for the depths. New decrees were made to keep order and peace in harmony. They discovered the Iris was capable of harnessing far more than just spiritual essence, but was driven to bring extra protection and power through the Omen water. Post-haste, Lady Fate combines the river with the Iris emblem, and is now capable of purification in spirits and delegation between those that are corrupt and those who were born for something more. As new spirits came flooding through the lands, more would land in the Omen rivers. Those who were corrupt were banished to the same endless void the Pavavori colony remained. Those who remained untainted were given entry to the Onyx colony and remained there forever in a new afterlife. Years had passed, the depths was colonized, creating societies made from the crimson onyx they stood upon. However, the new world flooded with colony civilians, and the depths had become overwhelmed. It was decided that many needed to leave. Knowing they could never banish innocent souls, they had trained many up as the Arcadian soldiers in the event of an evident overturn, casting them abilities risen from the mystical entities they beheld. While these soldiers were trained for combat, they were in for far more cataclysm than once thought. The eruption of their wormhole had brought a dark matter to life, breeding a new devious energy across their scope. Built from unknown origin, creatures started falling from the sky in the form of paradigm worms and leeching light from the depths as they dug underneath its surface, charging straight towards the core. Such a curse had not gone unprepared, as Tyrant had planned for days like this one, as did the heeded warning from the fallen Pavavori. As such, he recruited the finest soldiers in the land to help protect what was soon to become the Age of Calamity once more. 20 of the greatest Arcanes and Legion soldiers, in their few, marched alongside Tyrant and Fate through dangerous territories not explored since dawn began. Many days and months passed, soldiers, kings and queens still marching through gusts of anarchy. They encountered their first monstrosities blocking their path. Each born from the culmination of paradigm worms leeching off the planet, it seems they needed this essence to slowly become true to life in the form of chaotic and blackened creatures sizes bigger than our own. The Claustronoctus, feral and feline-esque, the Bipolisian, a venomous and eight-legged nightmare, and the Anzosax, an aviator of destruction.
In the fire lay a champion bold. May their arms be bathed in gold. Legend only tells of the woe and dwells to regain what they were foretold. For together in the cave they stood, for they knew that the cave would flood. Yet they sung a song to remind them they belong with the gods that they understood. What would tell of the monster they bear? Was the beast in their blackened glare? We've a demon in us all, unleash havoc on the call. Bear your arms and be aware. Enter the jaws of dawn.
Merely a floating rock to many who heed this tale.
But for every star that explodes in space has a new tale to tell. This is the beginning of a new dawn on the planet we know as the Depths, a volcanic land inhabited by the first two beings to walk on Earth, Father Tyrant and Lady Fate, passing through to this barren floating planet. Sooner or later, their world was about to be filled with many who passed through after them, in the form of an alliance to protect what they had founded and to control their next lives on Earth's ground, residing in a castle built out of the very ground they stood on, known as the Purgaprime. Here, souls would purify themselves in the Omen water that lay in front of the castle, guarded by large protective walls glazed by Fate's protective veil. For those who brought peace and goodwill to the land and reaped the rewards would pass on as the land's soldiers, the colony. For those who have brought destruction and anguish will dissolve in the water and never to be heard of again. And for those who lived troubled lives and meant little malice to the world, would reside in Fate's garden to help channel her energy into the sky and keep the Omen water pure, as it would be the two things that would protect their symbolic emblem in the sky, known as the Iris, seer of all things, knowing of all pasts, presents, and futures. This proud land has existed during the first meteor strike to hit planet Earth in its prehistoric ages. The Depths is not what most would think. The Depths is the very meteor itself, floating in perfect orbit along to harness the very kinetic energy needed to create the Depths. The Depths had never been seen by Earth's very eyes, as combined together, Tyrant and Fate were able to harness their magic entities to mask the Depths inside a cloak that protect them from overseers. Since its beginning, the Depths has been long since known as a myth to all. Order was ready. However, such simple beginnings could not go without an evil that emerges before them. A rift in space had shattered open a wormhole that brought forward this broad light essence. Upon the wormhole closing, millions of sentient particles floated in the air and formed a dark energy that would create the land's very first beast to roam the world. The size of a kaiju, the wingspan double its own size, and a large scythe-like tail. This was no ordinary beast. This was the amalgamation of millions of sentient particle creatures choreographed into one unstoppable force, known only in legend as the Motha Hive. Untamed and archaic, the Motha Hive would storm towards Purgaprime and seek its prey, to maybe cease life on the Depths as we know it. And that, my fellow traveler, is where you come in. You, born into this land as a noble soldier of the colony, must band together with our combined energies to destroy the minions of the Motha Hive and charge towards it in hopes of slaying the foul beast and locking it away in what we call the Encrypt. Though our numbers may be few in comparison, we trust you have yourself prepared. Before you valiantly slay this beast, you will need your weapons, your health stones, and an assortment of potions as your disposal. You can either use them to heal yourself, or use them to heal someone else. However you wish to move forward is of your intuition. You will all require skill, energy, teamwork, communication, and an artist's heart to tame what could very well be our last days on the Depths. Move forward, champions of the damned. Onward to the jaws of dawn. Travelers, it is time to march forward. We are now in the Motha Hive's lurking grounds, on the other side of the Depths. I trust you're all sensing the energy looming closer. I warn you all that a brisk storm will commence once we see the Motha Hive. You'll want to be careful about how you use your weapons and skill sets. We, Tyrant and Fate, will be your guides. Some lives may be lost, but your struggles won't go in vain. Soldiers, you're about to lay waste against the Clusternoctus, Bipolisian, and Angzerzax. Good luck, travelers. Now watch out!
took their victory lap as the depth's first threats fled from the scene. Traveling through the Cave of Blind Fortunes, Tyrant and Fate found a gauntlet and summoned many to ignite the flames once more, bringing light inside the Tomb of Unwanted Shadows. To their misfortune, they were not alone here. Paradigm worms lurked on the cave walls and on the ground. Soldiers were tasked in clearing the landscape from parasites until the time the gauntlet could be reignited. Many took the leap to travel far, and many had chosen to stand their ground. But after time took its course, the gauntlet was ignited, bleeding those flames through the cave